coming again, I can hear it down there. It's bringing me a nice bit of fresh haddock. I love this Jerry Naylor stuff, you know. The rockabilly legends. They called it rockabilly before they called it rock and roll. Wonderful stuff. All the way from the good old US of A. Now then, are my fans out there? Alright. You're having a laugh. No. I told you a few weeks ago that I'd tell you a story about the gun towers and the night that I was taken off in the helicopter. The helicopter came from RAF Manston, at the RAF Manston Air Base, and what happened was, the day before, I seem to remember it was on a Saturday night, might have been a Friday night, I can't remember now, but I got a feeling it was a Saturday night, and the day before I'd had some tinned salmon, and oh God, the next day was I ill. I was having stomach cramps and all sorts, and there was only Brian, Paul and myself on the gun towers at this particular time. Dear old Brian. He died in a swimming accident. He was a great swimmer, was our Brian. He was always swimming around the gun towers. He had a rope on and I'd be hanging on the other end of it. I said to him, you'd never get me in that solid water. It was horrible, and there was massive currents there. But he used to love a swim, did our Brian. But anyway, I digress. I was taken very, very ill with this salmon. Well, I think it was a salmon. I don't think it was anything else. I think it must have been a hole in the tin or something. And anyway, on the Saturday night, I'm almost sure it was a Saturday night, Brian and I had been left on the gun towers on our own. Reg Calvert had shot off for the weekend up to his Clifton Hall in Rugby to count his millions, as he usually did at the weekend. I got a vision of Reg Calvert sat in this room with piles upon piles of gold sovereigns and this vicious look on his face as he counted his money. And David was doing a tour of the North East. He was doing all the clubs up in Sheffield, all up that way, and he was away for a week. So it just left, Pussy Mew was his lead guitarist, so he'd gone with him. It just left Brian, Paul and myself, yours truly, Colin Dale, on the gun towers. And God, I was ill on the Saturday. God, I was ill. I didn't know where to put myself. So anyway, I stuck it out because I didn't really want to leave old Brian on his own. Nice bloke. And I thought, God, he'll never be able to manage it. Because don't forget, we've got generators to run. Oh, God, you wouldn't believe. It was like, what's that expression? Dad's Army will do. Yeah, that's what it was like, Dad's Army. But anyway, in the end I was so ill that I said to Brian, you're going to have to get somebody out here. I said, I don't know what to do. I said, put a Mayday in, I said, or something, I said on the radio, I said, for old Fred Downs to come out in his boat, the Harvester. I said, pick me up. I said, I felt terrible. I was writhing in agony. Anyway, put a Mayday out, and lo and behold, no boat could get out there. The sea was so bad that a boat couldn't get near the gun towers, so we were absolutely stymied. Well, about an hour later we hear this roaring noise, and Brian goes rushing up the stairs and onto the top of the gun towers. Don't forget, the gun towers were like 20-foot thick concrete where the ACAT guns used to stand on. And he stood up there on the top and he come running down to me and he said, there's a bloody helicopter, he said, hovering above the gun towers, he said. And there's a bloke coming down it, too sweet. And I went, oh yeah, what is that? I said, Candy? He said, no, you're having a laugh. I said, I'm not, I'm too ill for laughs. So anyway, he said that he's coming in here. So I'm laid out on this bed and oh, I'm in agony. Anyway, this guy comes in, RAF bloke, helicopter bloke, takes one look at me, he says, we're going to take you to Margate Hospital. So I said, really? He said, yeah. So he said, come on. So they carted me up the stairs and they put me in this sling and they winched me up into this helicopter and flopped me on the floor and they flew me off to Margate Hospital, and they landed the helicopter right in the grounds, and all these nurses come running out. There was bloody bedpans in their hands. I don't know what they can do with them. But there was they got a stretcher and everything, shoved me in the stretcher, or shoved me on the stretcher, rushed me into the hospital, and then they did all these sort of tests. Well, while I'm having all these tests, about half a dozen reporters come wading in there. Could they take a photo? I tell you, there's something else in the paparazzi, and they. So I went, yeah, get on with it. I'm like this, you know, laid out. And anyway, they gave me something, God only knows what it was, and I started to feel a bit better the next day. But the next day it was on all the news stations, BBC, ITV, television, radio, every hour on the radio, all this about me and this food poisoning and this trip in the helicopter. And then a nurse came over to me and she said, oh, we're moving you. And I went, why? I said, I'm quite comfortable here. She said, no, you've got to go into quarantine. Quarantine, I said. I haven't got the Black Plague or anything like that. I said, I've had food poisoning. I said, oh, you've got to go into quarantine, she said. So I said, where's that? She said some hospital up the coast. So I didn't argue. What could I do? I was too ill to argue. You'll excuse me a moment while I have a little slurp, won't you? I'll have a drop of brandy. Oils the wheels of commerce. And so up come the ambulance. They shoved me in it, and oh, my flowers popped off. Never mind, I'll stick him on there. And they took me up to this place and they put me in one room. You know, you've got to pay a fortune for one room, but quarantined. Anyway, I'm laying in this room, and a young nurse come round, pretty thing she was, and don't forget I was pretty in them days, or handsome. I was a good looking geezer who could pull the birds, let's put it that way. Don't look at me now, I'm old. You're having a laugh. And she said to me, she said, you alright, are you comfortable? I went, yeah. She said, well, do you want this, do you want that? I went, yeah. She said, oh, I've got to give you a bed bath, she said. I said, a bed bath? Why do I need a bed bath? I said. Yes, she said, but I can't do it now, she said. I'll have to do it later on this evening, she said. So I went, oh, right. Anyway, cut a long story short. That was the best thing that ever happened to me, that trip off of the gun towers in the RAF helicopter with food poisoning. That night, she came round, this pretty little nurse. She said, I'm here to give you the bed bath, strip off. Oh God, my luck had changed. Oh, she was the sweetest little thing. I'm not mentioning her name. I know her name. I know it to this day. But we had a wonderful 24 hours. And I ain't saying no more. And that's my story about the gun towers on Radio Sutch in May 1964. And this is Jerry Naylor, one more time. Sweet, you got that sand all over your feet. So, hey, honey, don't. I'll be back next week with another little story from Radio Sutch. Screaming Lord Sutch, the Savages. Oh, have I got some stories for you. I'll make your hair stand on end. Don't go away, stay right there, come right back. This is Radio Sutch, coming to you from the gun towers in North Wales. I didn't say honey don't.